Coming up next on the Social Hour, stickers are coming to Facebook on the web. Big updates have come to Twitter's Vine app. Zynga's got a brand new boss, and he's pretty rich. All that and Immersion for your Gmail up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Audio bandwidth provided by the new Winamp for Android, featuring wireless sync and one-click iTunes import. Now with free daily music downloads and full-length CD listening parties. Download it for free at winamp.com/Android. Bandwidth for the Social Hour is brought to you by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is the Social Hour with Sarah Lane and Amber MacArthur, episode 118, recorded Friday, July 5th, 2013. This episode of the Social Hour is brought to you by Shutterstock.com. With over 1 million high-quality video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 30% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use the offer code SOCIALHOUR7. And by social media solutions from SAP. If you're a social media manager at a large enterprise, gain insight and engage in social media with social media solutions from SAP to improve your customer service and support experience. Take a guided tour at sap.com/twit. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Social Hour. This is an hour where we talk about all things social networking, whether it's news, interesting services, and fun apps, and all sorts of good stuff. From Twit World headquarters, I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Amber MacArthur from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Amber. Before the show, you were mentioning to me that it has finally become hot time in the city up there in the T-Dog.
It is a little toasty, I'm not going to lie. And for our audio listeners, you cannot see me kind of starting to shine. Nonetheless, it's okay. I like the heat, so I'm not complaining. However, I would say when it's this hot and this humid, that sitting in front of a light that is even hotter is not necessarily the best idea. But nonetheless, I'm okay. And Sarah has promised me if I pass out, she's going to call for help.
That's right. I can't actually save you because I'd never make it in time. Toronto and all, but I will make sure that somebody checks on you in your sweltering basement and make sure that you get some ice water.
Thank you so much, Sarah. You're very sweet.
Hey, anything for a friend, Amber. Anything for a friend. You mean a lot to me.
Thank you. That's sweet, Sarah.
Yeah.
And speaking of friends, if you message with your friends on Facebook, this is an interesting story. You'll be happy to know that their stickers are now available beyond mobile apps and now available in the web version of Facebook. And I have not used any of these stickers. I have read about the story a few times. And Sarah, I was thinking about you and Path when I saw this because I know you like Path stickers.
Totally. And I like Facebook stickers just as much, really. I mean, Facebook totally ripped off Path's model of sticker packs when you are messaging with your friends, and I don't really Facebook message that much these days. It's weird how that works. It kind of goes in waves depending on who I am talking to a lot, you know, in various times of my life, I guess. But Facebook stickers are pretty cute. They've got little sticker packs that are of various designs. That's one of my favorite ones. They've got a sticker pack for Beast, who is Mark Zuckerberg's dog, who's very furry, kind of a interesting looking dog, and cute stuff. And these are the sort of stickers where people either go, yeah, I love them, or they roll their eyes and say, why would anybody want stickers? But what the thing about how Facebook worked previously, Amber, that was confusing is sometimes I would maybe send like a cute little pushing sticker to a few of my friends, like a little group message. And if somebody was on the web version of Facebook, you'd get this answer like, how'd you do that? And we say, the stickers, just download the sticker pack. And then we'd realize, oh, you're not using the Facebook app, the messaging app, so you can't participate. See. And that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think it's a good idea that Facebook at least is unifying its sticker offering to the masses.
Yes, I agree. And obviously, an opportunity for them to be able to monetize as well in the long run. I think this is something where I could see people buying stickers, maybe not me, but I could see others doing it. And I don't know, Sarah, if you had this experience, but I was speaking to someone about this morning, and they had mentioned that they used one of the stickers and it was gigantic, a lot larger than they thought. Do you find that?
Well, I'm used to them now, but I
Okay.
remember thinking that when Path first introduced their stickers, sending one and going, gee, it took up the whole screen just now. Yikes. Because I think we're so used to emojis,
Yes.
which is, part of the dictionary, part of the keyword, at least, on my iPhone. And emojis are, about the size of a letter. And stickers are more of like it's like an illustration. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a drawing
A
right in the
photo.
middle of your conversation. So yeah, I think you definitely get used to it. But I think Facebook stickers, which by the way are all free, Path stickers are not. So that's one thing that Facebook can afford to do is like give people a bunch of stuff for free and then figure out how to, I don't know, introduce some really, really exciting, cool, different sticker pack and try to make us pay for it. Amber, the thing about Facebook is I just wonder, they don't have a very good track record with pulling people off of other sites. Because Facebook stickers exist doesn't mean that I use Path stickers less. In fact, in a way, I almost use Path stickers more because more people are now interested in sending each other stickers. So I don't know what that says about me. I think my friends just really like sticker packs. But there is like a one-up type of a thing. I'll send somebody something and they'll go, oh, where'd you get that one? And I'll say, oh, it's in this sticker pack. And then you can see in their timeline, so-and-so has just downloaded this sticker pack. And so there's a little bit of like, I want the stickers that you have.
A little
'cause you've got cool
competition,
stickers.
right?
Yeah, adults acting like kids. I don't know. It's got to
okay,
keep
so-
life interesting, right?
Yeah, exactly. Got to keep it fun and lively. Speaking of keeping life interesting, I'm sure you'd be pretty happy if you got this paycheck that we're going to talk about next up. An article from All Things D.
Yeah, so it turns out that there were some stories about Don Matrick, who is formerly head of the Xbox team at Microsoft. There was a story that was floating around. Kara Swisher over at All Things D said, we're hearing that they're going to hire him over at Zynga, not just hire him, but make him the CEO. Well, Mark Pincus, who has been the Zynga CEO since the beginning of Zynga, hadn't mentioned anything, hadn't announced anything. So it was sort of like this is sort of an interesting move, especially because Xbox just announced the new Xbox One, which is the latest generation of their console at E3. It's expected out by holiday season this year. So it would be a weird time for him to depart the Xbox team. But sure enough, earlier this week, we got confirmation that Matrick is indeed coming to take over Zynga. And obviously, Zynga is a gaming platform, gaming company, closely tied with Facebook, less so these days, and has had a bit of a bumpy ride, really. Has lost a lot of its value since it IPO'd in 2011. And, the story is sort of like, well, yeah, is Mark Pincus the guy for the job? He used to work at EA for years before he worked at Microsoft for some time, has a lot of gaming experience. I guess you would almost say more of like a traditional gaming experience because Zynga clearly hasn't been around very long at all. But he is getting quite a good deal, Amber, without even proving himself yet. There were rumors that he was joining with about 95% of his compensation to be in Zynga stock, which is not necessarily a great thing if the stock continues to fall, but apparently he's getting $50 million in cash and stock compensation over several years. So it's a little bit unclear exactly how it gets broken down, but cash and stock totaling $19.3 million in his first year. It includes a $5 million signing bonus in cash, $1 million annual salary, and a prorated but guaranteed cash bonus of $2 million. In the same period, he will also receive $11.3 million in Zynga stock in a make-whole grant related to the vesting shares he gave up leaving Microsoft. So sounds like a pretty sweet deal, Amber, for somebody who has not been on the job more than 2 days.
It's pretty good incentive, I think, to do a good job. I could probably work a lot of hours for that type of salary, Sarah, I have to say.
I do remember, Amber, that over the last year, Mark Pincus, while still CEO of Zynga, because of Zynga's financial issues and people wondering if it even had a sustainable model with its gaming structure, social gaming, kind of like cheapy games, he took a salary of $1 to kind of, I don't know, it's a bit of a goodwill measure, right? He's already made a lot of money from the company and its IPO, but sort of to say, well, I believe in the company, therefore I will take no money. Steve Jobs has done that in the past. This is something that sometimes head honchos do to apparently, not have a lot of people underneath saying, boy, you're just getting rich while the company flounders. But they're paying Matrick quite a bit of money, so I'm not exactly sure what that's all about. It's probably going to ruffle some feathers, especially with people still working at Zynga, but Amber, I don't know. I'm interested in the Zynga story just because it's so interesting how some of those games were so popular and then fell from grace seemingly overnight.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is an issue that is going to be ongoing, especially with casual games. You know, they tend to have such a short run. And we see this in the app world as well, where with any type of casual games, they tend to kind of spike if they're popular, and then you can see them kind of dip off towards the end. So I'm not saying that I think that Zynga is dead, but I think it's going to take a lot for them to be able to rebuild to the point in terms of what they were at one point in history. And I wouldn't want to be in this position despite the salary, actually.
I wouldn't either. I was like, is this some sort of a punishment? I mean, is he being forced? But no, I think it's an interesting story. You know, I don't know him. I just know what position he's coming from. But looking into his past, he's had a great career thus far, but never really been the ultimate boss of any company. So this might have been something that that Don Matrick has wanted for some time. And if it wasn't going to happen at Microsoft or even EA, maybe Zynga's the place, and maybe he can bring in a lot of his expertise from working on game platforms, game consoles over the years to something like Zynga, which kind of needs a new leader, I suppose.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, that's for sure.
Well, let's move on to a couple Twitter stories. The first one doesn't really sound that interesting, but it will affect you, particularly if you use the web version of Twitter. Twitter announced a couple days ago that it's going to start serving promoted tweet ads to users' Twitter streams based on third-party sites they've visited. This is something known as retargeting, so marketers can identify people like us, customers, based on where they go online, and it's a little bit of tracking data that's stored inside your browser. It's like a cookies thing. So Twitter says advertisers will then, with the information that they get from us, to show promoted tweets to people that they have in their own customer database, because they can match the email that an advertiser has on file with the email that a user used to sign up for Twitter way back when, whether they signed up yesterday or a long time ago. Kevin Weil, who's the senior director over at revenue for Twitter, says the email addresses that are used are going to be hashed. They're going to be scrambled. Basically, you don't have to worry about there being some sort of a privacy issue with your email address getting exposed. This is kind of standard targeting. It's only going to be available in the US right now. Works somewhat similarly to how Facebook's own ad exchange works, except that Facebook's is a real-time ad exchange, and Twitter's will not be. It'll basically just be an aggregate of cookie IDs to Twitter's ad system based on where you've gone, rather than dynamic ads that are showing up based on where you've been, which is how Facebook works actually quite well. You know, you see ads on Facebook and you're like, I was just looking at that exact car on a different website. How do they do that? So that's what's going on here. I know people cringe when they hear about Twitter and advertising, Amber, but this apparently, at least for now, really only applies to the web version of Twitter, which I never use. I know eventually they'll get to me, but it's like out of sight, out of mind a little bit for me.
Yeah, I actually use the web version of Twitter a lot, funny enough. And I think what's interesting when we talk about Facebook, and based on this article in All Things Day, where they mention that with Facebook, for example, it's difficult to opt out of these ads. You have to go into a couple of different privacy settings. But at least with Twitter, you are able to easily opt out of these if you do use the web-based version of Twitter by simply having Do Not Track enabled in your browser. So it's as easy as that. So in that sense, I think that it makes sense for Twitter to do something like this. They're still trying to figure out how to continue to be able to monetize. But at the same time, they're really not jeopardizing the privacy of their users because they do make it easy not to be involved in this process. So kudos for them for making it that simple, I suppose, because Facebook doesn't necessarily have that same history.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like Twitter's they're doing what they got to do. This is something that's good for Twitter, certainly. But yes, they're respecting people enough to say, listen, you might have to tweak your settings a little bit, but we're not going to make this impossible for you if you're extremely uncomfortable with this. Another thing that Twitter's doing is making some changes to developers who use Twitter, the Twitter API, the Twitter platform, for their own apps, whether it's Twitter apps or just apps that take advantage of Twitter in some way. And many of us aren't developers, but this is stuff that will end up affecting us. As far as guidelines for third-party developers, Twitter now bars third-party apps from forcing users to automatically follow the app's official Twitter account. We all have seen that happen before, where all of a sudden you see in your Twitter feed, wait, why am I following? Oh, when I signed up for that app, I ended up following that company's app, or that company's Twitter account, which at that point you can unfollow, but it's somewhat annoying to feel like it's being pushed on you. Can't do that anymore. Also, the third-party developers are prohibited from creating programs that follow other accounts in bulk. Apparently, Twitter wants to crack down on sites and services that host users' raw Twitter data. Well, that's definitely a good thing. But, and this is perhaps in response to some events over the last 6 months or so where third-party developers were crying foul, saying Twitter's making it impossible for us to have apps that use the Twitter API because it wants too much control over our apps, because it doesn't really actually want Twitter clones. It only wants people to use the official Twitter apps. They are loosening up their display requirements. So previously, stating the apps in written languages had right to left. They needed the Twitter avatars to display in a certain way because Twitter wanted everything to be very uniform. Well, if you're reading left to right and the Twitter avatar is on the right-hand side of some sort of a display, okay, whatever. But yeah, what about languages that are opposite? It was basically kind of unreasonable, and it sounds like Twitter has figured that out. Timestamps on third-party apps and clients can now choose to display either the date or the time, so they've got some control over that too. The Twitter logo is no longer required on individual tweets in third-party clients. And, all of these things are like, okay, well, is it really that big a deal? Are we going to notice it all that much in some sort of a third-party app that we use? Probably not. But it does, I guess, show that at least in the interim, Twitter is committed to working with third-party developers.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are some of those developers who are frustrated that Twitter is trying to control so many things. But I think from a user standpoint, all of these things can be beneficial at the end of the day. So again, it goes back to the fact that Twitter appears to be caring more about the end user experience with things like privacy and just the overall user experience. So I think more news like this is reassuring that Twitter does have the best interests of all of the people who use the service in mind. And I think some of the developers are just going to have to get used to it, I suppose.
Yeah, I still use Tweetbot. That is my Twitter app of choice. I will use it until it stops working, and I've got it on my iPad, my iPhone. I've got the Tweetbot app on my Mac, both of my Macs that I use regularly. So a lot of this stuff, promoted tweets, all sorts of updates to official Twitter apps. For whatever reason, I'm just not ready, Amber. I still want to hold on to my third-party app, Tweetbot, which I paid a lot of money for, actually. The Mac version, I think, is like $20. And, I love it. So eventually, I'll probably go back to web Twitter again. It's weird that you say that you use it all the time, because I used to, that was the only way that I used Twitter. I didn't even really check Twitter in the Twitter app. I just liked it on the web. And I don't know what happened, Amber. Something with TweetBot just got me off of the web. So at this point, sometimes I look at, I'll type in somebody's profile string, just twitter.com/AmberMac or something. And it's like the web Twitter version is, there's the big background and everything looks different and you got your trending topics and it's like, I'm not used to the way that this looks, which is funny because that's the way that Twitter looks to most people.
Yeah, I mean, I do think one thing is that when I'm using the Twitter app on my phone, I do find that I can be more effective. And I think this is particularly relevant to people who want to make sure that they're active in social media. I feel like I can answer Twitter responses that much more quickly on the mobile device because there aren't as many distractions. Whereas when I go onto my computer and I have Twitter open in the browser, I have the option to open so many other tabs, and I feel like I get a little bit, I tend to take weird turns and look at different things. But if I want to be really fast and effective, still, I think on my mobile device, Twitter tends to be probably the most useful for me. But I go back to the web version now and again.
Yeah, same here. Interesting little study that came out. Pew Research did a study on adults in the U.S. So this is a U.S.-based poll of anybody over the age of 18. They polled a little over 2,000 people via phone about what kind of social networks they used the most. And it was interesting. Facebook was clearly in the lead by quite a wide margin. I believe 67% of adults said, yes, I am active on Facebook. Not necessarily going 3 times a day, but I use it. After that, Twitter was in second place with, I believe, 16% of adults saying, yes, I use Twitter. Pinterest, Amber, yours and my favorite social network, 15%. So, I mean, almost the same amount of people that say that they are active on Twitter say that they are active on Pinterest.
Wow.
That was surprising to me.
That's a bit of a surprise to me, too.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's all about, the circles that you run in. Then you've got Instagram, which, of course, is owned by Facebook, and it's doing pretty good, 13%. Tumblr is at 6%, which I thought was somewhat low. However, also at 6% is Reddit. We talked about this a little bit on Tech News Today this morning, and I was kind of asking the guys, am I crazy, or does that almost seem high for Reddit? Because although Reddit is a very, very popular community, I guess still to me, I've always thought of it as a geeky place for geeky people, and which is why it sort of makes sense that Reddit seems to have a really good standing with 18 to 29-year-old males. So it's like, okay, that kind of fits that whole geek thing I was going for. But then Ayaz had pointed out to me, well, I mean, they do Ask Me Anythings. You have celebrities on Reddit. I mean, it's not really that geeky and unknown. It's actually pretty mainstream.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm just going over to reddit.com because I want to get a sense of the type of articles. I mean, obviously, I'm very familiar with Reddit, and I have used their site, but I do find myself not going there on a regular basis unless perhaps that I discover a link through Twitter or another social media network. So if you look at the homepage of Reddit, I think on most given days, it does seem a little male-oriented as far as the content. I think that's safe to say. But for me, I just don't go to sites like this that much anymore, Sarah. I mean, I feel like I get most of my news from social networks like Twitter or even Facebook, where I can get recommendations and see what friends are reading. And I know Reddit has a big social component, but I just find it's definitely not necessarily the type of content that I read on a regular basis. Here and there I find stuff, but not all of it is appealing to me, I would say.
Yeah, maybe I'm holding on to, because we use a subreddit for TNT, and it's actually extremely helpful. So there are basically parts of Reddit that you can create a topic for, and then it's sort of whatever you make it. I mean, I could make a subreddit about cats, and that's not necessarily, well, I guess cats are kind of geeky these days, but I can make a subreddit about cotton candy or something, and it could be about whatever you want to be about, and as long as there's a community, it works just fine. But maybe I tend to focus on stories that come out of the Reddit community that are about, a hacker exposing somebody's email addresses, or that sort of thing. So maybe I'm skewing a little too geek just because of some of the stories that I end up covering from Reddit. But yeah, Reddit and Tumblr, they're neck and neck. 6% of U.S. adults polled in this poll say, yeah, I use that regularly. So it's
I think the big
it's the way of the
surprise-
future.
Yeah, the big surprise for me, though, I agree on that list, is Pinterest. Just, I never thought of Pinterest having that much reach, but that's, it's a really good point. It means that I think in all of the stuff I do in social media, I need to talk more about Pinterest, and maybe we need to talk more about it on the show as well.
I think so. You want to start?
Well, you know what? I don't know if you heard this story about Pinterest this week, and I know it's not in our rundown, but
Go for it.
It was announced Nordstrom's is going to have items that are going to be on shelves in stores that have a little Pinterest logo on them that basically says that these were popular on Pinterest. My friend Doug Stevens, who follows the retail space, sent me the article. So that's kind of interesting to see Pinterest come into the physical store and all of a sudden be relevant when you're shopping at a department store like Nordstrom's.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, So just you'll see what's popular on Pinterest, and maybe it will give you an indication of what you may like just based on things out there that have gotten a lot of attention on that particular social network.
Pinterest is making more sense to me every week. Last week we had the Pinterest stories.
Oh, I love that.
I know, and we even heard from the nice gal that sent us the link in the first place. She was glad that we also got a kick out of it. But yeah, Pinterest is what it is. Okay, so I have to admit, Amber, that right now I am in the middle of, I don't know if I'm going to follow through with it because it's going to be expensive, but a little bit of like a home decorating project.
Ooh.
Where I'm like, it started with like, I need a new couch. My couch is really uncomfortable and I don't really like it and it's kind of blah. And then it sort of turned into, well, what if I were to look through all my stuff and really think about what I would like to keep and throw out? And I've been basically pinning little items that I see online of other homes, like, oh, that living room's cool. I just like the colors in it, or that couch is really, really expensive, but if I could find something that was that style, I could really make use out of it. And Pinterest is perfect for things like this. Again, I don't feel like I have an issue like a home improvement project on a daily basis, but once in a while, it's definitely infrastructure that's set up that's perfect for somebody like me who wants to gather a bunch of information and have it displayed visually.
I think it's for people who have, and this is not an insult to you, Sarah, or I guess I'm insulting myself too, but people who I feel like have really rich lives at home in the sense of, doing home decorating and gardening and those type of things, right? Because you have to have time for Pinterest, like outside of just kind of sitting surfing on the internet. And I feel like that most people I know who use it, those are the people who I think appreciate things like that just more than perhaps we do.
Yes.
I hate to say it.
Right. It's like it shouldn't have to be project oriented or chore oriented. I mean, yes, looking at beautiful pictures of other people's beautiful homes is not the worst thing in the world, but I'm not doing it for my health. I'm doing it because I actually have a task to accomplish.
Yeah.
I can't do it every day. I simply don't have time. So I'm with you on that. All right, well, that's some of the news that Amber and I found around the web, the social web this week. Quick reminder for everybody who's not watching us live that we do record the show on Friday afternoons. It's a fun time. Amber's time zone is 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. on the Pacific, where I am. But if you ever want to catch up on any of our past episodes, guests that we might have had, check for links to stories that we talked about that you'd like to maybe share with a friend as well, you can go to twit.tv/TSH. That is our show page. All of our episodes are posted there along with embedded videos and all of our episode pages and links to all of our content that we cover in each episode. Last week, all sorts of good stuff. We were talking about Instagram versus Vine. We were talking about the fact that Google Plus is 2 years old. All sorts of, that was a fun show last week. So if you can't watch us live, do watch us on demand, and you can subscribe to the show. We have subscription links on twit.tv/TSH as well. All right, before we get into some social tips, we got some spotlights. Let's take a moment to thank Shutterstock for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. At Shutterstock.com, you can find, I mean, the perfect image or even video for your next creative project. Maybe you want to put together a website and you just want to wow them with images that you did not take, and you either don't have time, don't have nice enough equipment, or don't have wherewithal to take yourself. Maybe you're putting together some sort of an ad, or maybe you're making a video or any type of project. You can choose from over 1 million high-quality stock video clips. These video clips can be 2D, some are 3D animation. We've got motion graphics in there. Most of them are in HD. What's nice is that contributors to Shutterstock are professionals. They're filmmakers, they're animators. These are people who have a ton of talent. Shutterstock reviews each video for content and quality so that they don't make sure that they're not putting up anything that represents Shutterstock that's not awesome. And they're adding over 10,000 video clips each week. So every time you visit, you might get something you didn't see the week before that's absolutely perfect. So it's something that you'll want to come back to all the time. They got great search tools. So if you're like, okay, I want to search for a lemur, you have a variety of videos that lemurs are involved with, and you can drill down too. I mean, you can if I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, which lemur videos is just right for Amber and my next, safari video, I can basically add all of those clips to clip boxes, share that box with her, and then at Amber's leisure, she can go in, check stuff out, and then say, oh, Sarah, I really liked number 3. That lone lemur climbing up the tree at night that's the one that we want. I mean, could we ever get these videos ourselves? Amber, I don't know where to go for something
Probably
like
not.
this.
But Sarah, I can't believe you didn't do cats.
Well, that's later.
Okay.
That's like, I don't want to overdo it too quickly, but we could if you really want to. Lemurs,
I wouldn't mind.
Lemurs, cats, they're all same idea, just a lot of cuteness. But yeah, I mean, you search for cats and then you can drill down and, ooh, you got mean cats, you got big cats, you got little cats. You got all sorts of cats. They have a huge image library of photos, vectors, icons, infographic templates. Creative people, you need to check out Shutterstock, truly. You can try Shutterstock today by signing up for a free account. Yes, you heard me right. That's free account that allows you to look at cats in the snow jumping in slow-mo. And not just looking at them, but then using them in your next project. Think big. No credit card required. Just start an account. You can start using Shutterstock to help imagine what that next project will be like. Once you decide to purchase, use the offer code SOCIALHOUR7, SOCIALHOUR, and then the number 7. And new accounts will receive 30%. 30% off any package. That's Shutterstock.com. And for 30% off new accounts, use the offer code SOCIALHOUR7. And thanks to them for sponsoring this episode of the Social Hour.
I have to say that Shutterstock is awesome for people who have to do presentations too. If you do a lot of presentations, just the images and the videos will make a bigger impact, because that's how I've been using it, and it is really cool.
Yeah, I sometimes just you were mentioning that sometimes you get a little lost on Twitter. You start somewhere and then you find yourself somewhere else. I do that on Shutterstock as well, because we obviously talk about Shutterstock a lot on Twit, and sometimes you start searching for something and then you're getting excited and you're like, it's a cat in a little pot. And then you start searching for pots and then you're like, oh my gosh, my project is going in a whole different direction because I have all these clips to choose from. You get the idea. All right, let's talk about, Amber, this is, I guess we're kind of an update on a social media character of sorts.
Yes, and I don't even know where to go with this one, Sarah, because a few weeks ago we talked about how ex-CEO and Groupon founder Andrew Mason said he was going to be releasing an album, kind of like a rock album that he wanted to put online and make it available for sale. We weren't really sure if that was a joke or not, because let's face it, he is well known for a lot of different pranks that he has done in the past within the company. Well, it turns out that this is the real thing. So Andrew Mason has put out this album. It's called Hardly Workin'. And he has, in fact, blogged about it when it was first released. And it has a bunch of different songs on the album that talk about lessons and learnings from his experiences at Groupon. The songs have many different names, but they are all relevant to people in the business world. And it's supposed to be almost like an inspirational album for people in the workplace.
So weird. Can we play a clip, Brian, from like, yeah, we could play, see if that works.
A little sample.
All right, so it's sort of, you know, classic rock, Americana type, jangly stuff. I don't know if all the songs sound like that.
Where do you
Ooh,
think
this is a little bit more country.
be coming from?
From people like me. Bring them
Who's that? Oh my gosh.
Complexity will kill you. Your users, they'll be gone in a blip. Oh,
I see. So these are like, this is,
clear without instructions.
Amber, what? I'm speechless. I don't even know. So it's sort of like inspirational music about the trials and tribulations of running a company, but it almost seems like it's targeted towards children or something. But children don't probably want to parse the lyrics and find out how to be better business people.
It would seem that way, but I think maybe that's just one interpretation of it. Because if you look at his blog post, he actually suggests that employers and managers perhaps think about playing his songs at the end of meetings just to motivate people and get them more excited about the project at hand. So it appears as though he's quite serious about this album. I don't even know what to say. I mean, he's getting a lot of attention. Is the music good? It's okay. I mean, he's done better than I could ever do. However, I'm just not sure about it all. It seems a little jokey, and I can imagine one day he sort of comes out and says he just wanted to see if it would sell and what would happen, and he's certainly getting a lot of attention for it.
He's getting a lot of attention, and this Andrew Mason sounds like he's got a bit of a jokester spirit. I don't know if you would call it that. I know when he left Groupon, he was ousted as the CEO over at Groupon. He had kind of his funny exit email that he sent to all his employees that was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Some people thought it was funny. Other people said this is a pretty flippant thing to do when the company's in trouble. But I guess I would never fault anybody for getting out there and making an album. Like you said, Amber, you think that this is better than you could do. It's definitely better than I could do. At the same time, I'm not sure how much. I mean, I can't imagine us playing one of his songs at the end of, you know, one of our Twit production meetings, let's say, and it not being a joke. I mean, if it was actually a tale of what to look out for business-wise, I'm just not sure that it's presented in a way that makes people want to take it seriously.
I have no idea what's going on, Sarah. You know, it's one of those things where I think we have to see where the story goes, because I get the feeling this is not the end of it, and perhaps he will come out and talk more about it in the future beyond just his blog post. But I would agree with you on that. It's interesting, and he has a very interesting history in terms of things like this. So he's definitely one to watch.
Definitely one to watch. He's a Valley character. Well, I figure we might as well spotlight Vine this week. And I was reluctant to do this, Amber, because I'm not so crazy about Vine. I have an account. I use it infrequently, but I'm not really sold on the medium as something that I need to use on a regular basis. I'm actually running Vine on my iPad. Well, hold on, let's stop this one. How do I turn on? Oh, wait, I'll just mute it. Just for purposes of presentation, it looks a little bit better on my iPad, although this isn't some, Vine app that you haven't heard of before. But it's interesting. It's a pretty big update, Amber. Now, if I'm looking at Jack Dorsey's Vine of the big open sky, as he calls it, looks like he's Highway 4th. I don't know, he's on a highway somewhere. If I like this, I can go ahead and revine it. Works just like retweeting, so that will now appear not only in my profile, but it will show, this will show up in anyone who's following me's feed, and it'll say that Sarah revined. So this works well, and that makes sense given that it's the Twitter team. You know, you've got still the likes, comment, revine, and then you can go ahead and report this post or share this post. You can share the people's vines. But here's what's really cool, Amber, is there is a new, if you go to the Explore category here, Vine has made it all about discovering different genres of Vine. So this isn't just, oh, well, you know, if somebody hashtags something comedy, maybe if I search for the hashtag, I'll find it eventually. There are actually categories: comedy, arts and experimental, cats, dogs, family, and so on. If you go to the cat section, which I did earlier, of course, I was pleasantly surprised with all of my options here. This is one of my favorite ones, which shows a cat twerking, apparently, Twerk Thunder. A lot of other people have also liked it. It has gotten over 4,000 revines. I don't know who Jakari is, but this is a great vine. I spent 15 minutes watching it in an endless loop earlier. And yeah, this is, you know, this is basically making a little bit more sense out of hashtags for certain categories. This is, oh yeah, it's a cat he howls along to Miley Cyrus. It was kind of cute. And so on. This guy was, I don't know where he's from. He's from somewhere else. So I could get lost in that, Amber. But what do you think in general of Vine saying, okay, we got to make some sense of all these vines that are coming in. Maybe you just want to see what the most popular vines are. I don't know why it's Taco Hut, but oh, okay, it is. He's very popular. Or maybe you want to see what happens to be trending. You know, that's also a hot thing to do. Or you just want to search through categories. You know, maybe all you want to do is, no, that's not true. Nobody wants to see anybody's food. Maybe all you want to do is see special effects vines, because those are sometimes, you know, those are fun because it shows the creative side of Vine. Ooh, this guy, oh, how do you do that? That's kind of cool. And so on and so on. Amber, what do you think? Is it going to make you love Vine or use it more, or
I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think it's great for discovery. I mean, that's one thing that I know people have a tough time with things like Vines. Vines is it's difficult to be able to discover new vines for people. So I love the way that they categorize it. I think it's very simple and probably will get more people attracted and to going in and checking out some of the recent vines. The special effects vines that you're looking at right now are pretty cool, actually, I have to say, and I haven't seen a lot of them. And I think it's a good move on their part. However, I still wonder, because of the length, and I talked about this last week, but I just feel like Instagram video with 15 seconds gives you more of an opportunity to do something that has a bigger impact, and 6 seconds is still pretty short. So can you make a big impact in 6 seconds? I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like something you'll just kind of flip through and exactly how you're doing it right now.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm sort of mesmerized by some of these. They're really neat. This is the thing, Amber, is like, these are all really, really great, but it's a cool once in a while type of a thing. This is not something that I need to get through my day, and that's part of what Vine doesn't offer me. Facebook is something that I feel like, I mean, okay, you could argue that no social network is necessary to get through a day, but Facebook keeps me in contact with people that I care about. Twitter, you know, helps me resurface a lot of news. Vine is just less of that stuff. It doesn't really help me keep up to date on anybody or communicate with them very directly. But maybe some of this reorg stuff happening within Vine is an effort to help us discover stuff that is important to us. This is not going to be one of them. And so on. You know, if I go to my profile here, I've gone ahead and I revined the twerk kitty thing from earlier, so maybe you can see now revined by Sarah Lane. Maybe that's helping other people discover this wonderful artistry, and so on. So that's Vine. It's the new version. Getting better all the time. I mean, Twitter's taking it seriously, Amber. I think we can at least agree on that.
Yep, and I think there are some good changes. I just, again, wonder about the longevity of it. I don't know if we'll be talking about Vine in 3 or 4 years, but I kind of doubt it, I would say. Now, so we have a bunch of different feedback from people, emails. One in particular, this one is from Amir from Israel, who says, I am trying to get business leads through social media like LinkedIn and Twitter to a certain product solution we offer. What is your idea on how to engage and connect high position roles in companies' second connections? I can use a tip or two on this. It seems like he's interested in particular about how to generate leads on services like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And that's a lot different than how to do so on Twitter. I think with LinkedIn, we've talked a lot about this before on the show as far as how to do that. And one of the best things you can do on LinkedIn is establish yourself as a thought leader. And sometimes that means creating your own group and talking about maybe not your product, but maybe the industry as far as the industry you're creating the product for. And sometimes the leads will then end up coming because I think the hard sells on LinkedIn really don't work well.
Yeah, I wish I had great advice for Amir because I don't know if I've definitely not run into the situation on LinkedIn where I want to offer a product solution because that's just not what I've ever done in my line of work. But I do know how it feels to say, oh, I found this person on LinkedIn, but they're a second connection and I don't have any way to message them without buying a premium membership on LinkedIn or something like that. So I guess that's probably what Amir's talking about is I'm trying to get to the people in positions of power at certain companies and I'm feeling like there's a barrier between us. Well, you do have options to go premium on LinkedIn. With Twitter, it's really just a matter of whether or not they want to acknowledge you. But then on LinkedIn, I mean, maybe I would say if you want to go the easiest route, figure out who you know in common, why they're a second connection, and maybe try to get an introduction that way. That's something that people do on LinkedIn, which is cumbersome, but that's the way it works. You know, it's all about who you know, I guess, especially when you've got a product that you want to get into the hands of people that you think will help.
Yeah, and I think also just adding context to some of that too. One of the things I still find with LinkedIn, and I don't think I figured out how to use it all that well, but I find that when I've been asked for connections or someone else is doing a connection, there's something about it that just makes me not necessarily continue to kind of follow up. I don't get a lot out of it. So I think it's a situation where you have to also put a lot of effort into LinkedIn like you do with any other social network and create content there, create your own connections from scratch, even if it takes you a while to get to those second connections. But you have to have a profile and the content that you're sharing there that's appealing to people who will then go and check out your profile and see if they want to then establish a relationship. So creating value within the community that you are starting on LinkedIn, for example, or in the content you're creating on Twitter is probably the most important thing to be able to then turn those into different sales leads.
Yeah. We got another email from Jonathan who says, hi, ladies. I was wondering, what are your thoughts on people who make Twitter accounts for their pets? I may or may not be one of those people. Then he linked us to his Twitter account for his cat, Lizbeth, at Lizbeth the cat. I mean, this is an easy one for me, Amber. We don't even have to stay on this very long. I say go for it. Cats and other animals deserve to be on Twitter just like the rest of us. We are in no way more important than they are, and maybe they might need just a tiny bit of help pressing post here and there, but otherwise their voices should be heard as well.
I think it's cute. You know, I know friends who have Instagram accounts for their dog, for example, and I just think it's kind of fun. You know, people tend to be able to post more honestly in some ways if they are taking on the personality of their pet, which can always be very interesting too. And if you want to get attention, as long as you keep updating it and keep posting interesting things, I think it's just a fun use of social media, and hopefully it doesn't stop anytime soon.
No, and the thing is that animals, I mean, they're the most popular thing on the internet right now. I mean, they are the new internet celebrities. In fact, I was at a 4th of July barbecue yesterday, Amber, and it was pretty mellow barbecue. We're all pretty much sitting around looking at our phones, because those are my friends. And we were trading stories about funny pet accounts that we've come across. One of my friends said, oh, have you guys seen Tuna Melts My Heart on Instagram? And we all said, no, let's all look. And sure enough, Tuna is a strange-looking little dog who's got kind of a funny overbite. And I mean, Tuna has like 44,000 Instagram followers or something. There's Tuna. Yeah, you can see. She's really kind of cute. And it's, you know, it's just one of these things. It's, I don't know, it gives me a lot of joy. So I say go for it. If
Go for
anything, it brings us all together somehow by humanizing us with dogs with pairs of glasses on their face. I don't know how, but it works.
You can't go wrong, Sarah.
Can't go wrong. No.
This is an interesting email, which is from someone who I believe is anonymous.
Yes, he asked to be anonymous, so we'll go ahead and respect that.
Interesting story that I did not read about. I don't know about you, Sarah, but it's from the Washington Examiner, and the title being State Department Bureau spent $630,000 on Facebook likes. And in fact, employees complained to a government watchdog that the Bureau was buying fans in social media, and this is how this story went down.
Yeah, it's so strange. The Inspector General, after doing a little investigation, said many in the Bureau criticized the advertising campaigns as buying fans who may have once clicked on an ad or liked a photo, but have no real interest in the topic and have never engaged further. This is an issue you hear more and more about. People saying, well, hold on a second. You know, why am I in this ad? I may have liked the product, but that's a whole different thing. Apparently, the spending during this time period, which is over $500,000, increased the Bureau's English language Facebook page, because there, I guess, is more than one, likes from 100,000 to more than 2 million, and to 450,000 on Facebook's foreign language pages. Not exactly sure which pages, but just collectively. So apparently, the best part of this is that the Inspector General says they didn't really mean anything, because again, this is like baiting likes. It's tricking people into liking stuff. Doesn't really change the target audience. It doesn't really help the amount of people clicking through, because again, they're not really all that interested. I think all it's actually capable of doing is upsetting people when they read stories like this and saying, this is not where our money should be going.
Yeah, you know, it never goes well, right, Sarah? When you're trying to buy influence online, whether it's Twitter followers or likes on Facebook, it just never goes well. You're never going to win. So I think it's a lesson for all of us, whether you're a government organization or an individual, that unfortunately just hard work, good content, and creating value is all you can really do to be able to get ahead in social media.
Yeah, it's like there just aren't any shortcuts, are there?
There's no shortcuts.
Yeah, I mean, for most things in life, and I think social media is a great indicator of that as well. You know, a few weeks ago, Amber, we were talking about ads. I think it may have been the week that you were off. It may have been Shannon who was filling in for you that week. But if you go to ads.twitter.com, they have an analytics tool that's now open to the public. And I had gone in there today and I realized I hadn't looked at it in a while. And again, you know, there's a photo that I had tweeted about a couple of nights ago. And I mean, of my relatively, you know, in relative terms, large Twitter following, I, you know, got like 700 clicks. And it's like, I mean, it's such a small percentage of the people who are supposedly interested in anything that I'm saying, for a variety of reasons. You know, they could have been, you know, it's holiday week and it was at night and people might be busy and off the internet, but it's important sometimes to sort of come back to earth a little bit of like, who actually is engaging with the stuff that I'm talking about? Because that's really helpful to know. So inflated likes or Twitter followers is I don't know. I think it's good for an ego, but it doesn't actually mean that you're getting results or you're putting in the work of capturing any sort of community.
Yeah, and I think it's getting harder and harder all the time to be able to get more people to click on those images that you share, because there's just so much people can go to check out online. So it's very competitive and very difficult to do so. So hard work is really, that's all you can do really to try to get ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It kind of goes with LinkedIn too, you know, you're trying to meet people and further your product. It's like, kind of got to go about it the hard way.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. All right, for our app of the week, and I don't know if you've tried this out, Sarah, because I feel like you've tried every app imaginable, but this was something that I found on my friend's site. She was using it to take notes. It's called Paper by 53, and the idea is that this is an app you can use on your iPad. So if you're in a social setting, maybe a meeting or at a conference, you can then download the app and create these beautiful, they're not like diagrams, but basically like drawings where you can create sketches and share your notes, and everything just looks absolutely fabulous. So it's great for brainstorming ideas, and it's just really fun to use and very creative if you want something that's different than just having a list.
Oh yeah, I indeed am familiar with Paper, Amber. What's interesting about Paper is that it's a free app, but it only gives you certain tools for free. Then you've got in-app purchases. The neat thing is that it's got this really cool ability. Let's go ahead and just let's choose a nice black. Cool ability to make what's essentially my chicken scratch into something that looks a little bit nicer. It almost got a little bit of like a calligraphy type of effect, right? And this is the particular pen that I'm using, but you could go ahead and get a variety of other pens. You've got colors and this and that. But people who are extremely talented swear by Paper because there's something, I guess, with its touch sensitivity that allows not just artists, but people who are maybe, sketching out some sort of a diagram for a new project, or a variety of things that you just want to sketch out longhand rather than enter data, into some sort of a spreadsheet type thing. Leo and I always laugh, Amber, because it's like, I'm not an artist. One of the things I do is whenever pressed to do something, I create something that looks vaguely like a flower, because it's like that's the only place that my mind goes. Sometimes I will draw a cloud or a tree. So I was sort of like, well, I can show you how nice it is, but I'm probably not, the number one person who should show you all the great things about Paper. But it's quite lovely. If you go back to this is like a little bit of a making paper tutorial that gives you just a sense of the stuff that you can do with it. It's neat. The tutorial itself is made in Paper, so there's a little bit of like a what comes first type thing. So it tells you how you can sketch and use different tools to make different effects. You can there's all sorts of stuff here. If you're even going kind of into sort of like a math category type thing, some people learn better when they're actually writing things out and making sure that it makes sense. If you're designing a new app, there's all sorts of reasons that people love Paper. And Amber, I think it's beautiful. I think
It is beautiful. Yeah, I love it. It's a really fun one. Again, I think it's cool if you're at conferences, and I see so many people because I speak at so many conferences, and I know people have their phones or an iPad in front of them, for example, and they're taking notes, and this just makes it that much more interesting. And I think you're right. If you don't necessarily have a lot of artistic skills, then you feel like you do because of this particular app. It adds that certain flair that maybe you weren't born with.
Yeah. Oh, and I wasn't, that's for sure. Where are my tools? Oh well. Yeah, you get the idea. It's beautiful. I think for anybody who has an iPad, for whatever reason doesn't have Paper downloaded, it's a good thing to have. It's definitely the best of the sketchy apps. Well, not because the app is sketchy. Apps for sketching. Sketchy in that way. Yeah. All right, good pick. App of the week, Paper by the company 53, who just raised quite a bit of money, Amber, the company 53, and I think it's something like $15 million in venture capital.
Oh,
so
wow.
One would assume either they've got big plans for Paper, or we can expect other cool apps from the same company.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah. A reminder that we love hearing from all of you. It's so fun to get your topic suggestions, app suggestions, social services that we may not have covered that you'd like us to look at or talk about or review. You can write us at thesocialhour@twit.tv. You can leave us a voicemail at 2626-SOCIAL. That's 2626 SOCIAL. Or you can always record a video, send it to us. We'll play it in a future show. All right, Amber, before we get to Rad or Fad, we want to take a moment to thank SAP for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. Regular viewers and listeners of our show know exactly what SAP does because it is it's just the perfect match for us, because those of you who work in social media jobs for large enterprises know that you have to keep on track of who's talking about your product. Are they talking about it because something great happened? Are they talking about it because there's a customer service issue that you need to address? You need to keep on top of that, or we talk about all sorts of social media blunders on the show. It's easy that these things get away from you unless you have the right kind of tools to manage what people are saying about your company and manage how you are responding to those people and making sure that they are happy customers. Social Media Solutions from SAP helps large enterprises listen and engage with social media in a systematic way. They've got a whole system set up that involves listening and engaging components. So it's two sides of this. What do you do first? Well, you listen. You get all sorts of information about who may have written you up on their personal blog, who might be talking about you on Twitter. Are they upset? Are they excited? You can search for relevant terms that have to do with your company. If you're really interested in a particular part of a product or a service and you want to make sure that you have your finger on the pulse of that. Helps you build better products, of course, because now you're incorporating customer feedback in real time to your innovation efforts. You can identify the kind of customers who are ready to buy your product and reach out to them and make sure that they walk away saying, gosh, that was such a pleasant experience with this company. I mean, they don't know how you're doing it. You just seem like you're on top of it, but you are using Social Media Solutions from SAP. Then, of course, the engaging component, that's the other side of it, helps you improve customer service and support because you can set rules about where all these messages are going. Okay, who on our team is the person who deals with the angry woman who has a customer support question and she's at the end of her rope? Who on the team is going to answer that person's questions so they turn into a buying customer? That sort of thing. So you can stay extremely organized, not just on top of everything, but really, really organized on your side of it as well. Improving customer service and support, cannot overemphasize that enough. Activity on the social media stream, meaning Twitter, meaning Facebook, some sort of review site. If you manage that correctly, you'll drive sales, you'll solve customer problems, and you can, of course, respond to customers' feedback easily as well. And of course, if somebody posts something negative, this is the way that you remedy that problem. You do not let it get out of control on social media because that sort of thing does happen. Non-response is almost worse than a bad response in some cases. Social Media Solutions from SAP gives you more than just marketing because it improves the customer service and the support experience. If you're interested, go to sap.com/twit. And you can take a guided tour. You get a little more information than what I've told you. If this is something that you think your enterprise could use, working at a company, working in this field, do check it out, sap.com/twit. See for yourself how Social Media Solutions from SAP works and can help you. All right, Amber, let's do a little rad or fad. Let's decide if something is worthy or just not going to stand the test of time.
All right, I have a really fun one this week. It's called Immersion. This is a tool that was created by some folks over at MIT. They call it a people-centric view of your email life. And they go in to talk about how your email network is truly a social network. And probably for most people, one of the oldest social networks that they have and one of the most important. So basically, if you choose to do so, you can log in securely via your Gmail account. And once you do that, it will display the connections that you've made from the history of all of the emails that you sent via Gmail from the very first email. Now, this is kind of fun, Sarah. Chris actually was playing with this tool just before the show, Chris being my partner, and he was looking at it, and he was looking to the time before we met when he had another partner in his life, a girlfriend, and how she had a tiny little bubble, and she was the person that he emailed the most. But then I kind of came in at a certain point, and you can use the graph to scale it up, and then I took over his life, Sarah. Basically, that's what it came down to.
Aww.
It was very interesting. I know, it's cute. It's like a story of your email history. So if you're interested in that, this is a fun tool to use. But again, you have to give it access to your Gmail account.
Well, I'm okay with that. I mean, I give everything access to everything anyway. No, I'm just kidding. I give sites and services that I trust. We're collecting metadata on a first-come, first-served basis. This page will refresh every 30 seconds, and when the metadata has been collected, your immersion experience will appear here. So please keep an eye on this page. You know, Amber, a lot has happened since I joined Gmail in 2004, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It was, 2003. So this is going to be interesting indeed.
It's really fun, Sarah. It's a cool visual look at your email history. So they don't use people's last names, so that's nice because when you're actually seeing the chart, you're just seeing their first names, but you, of course, will know who they are. And you could just kind of slide it along. You know, just seeing the first person you ever emailed from Gmail is kind of interesting. It was neat to see Chris's network because all of a sudden when I came into his life, I became a bigger and bigger circle. And then my brother, who we do work with, he also became a bigger connection. And then Chris's network kind of expanded from there. So if you love visual interpretations of data, I think you'll absolutely love this. It's super, super cool. Can you tell that I think it's rad?
Yes, I can tell that you think it's rad. It's actually kind of good that you can't see this because some of this is like, everyone doesn't need to know all the people that I'm emailing. But my biggest circle by far is Linnell Lane, my mother. So, Mom, you've always captured my heart. Yeah, that's pretty cute.
That's really cute.
Followed by a variety of people from my past and present. Some of them I don't email with at all anymore. Some of them I do, but that's great.
Yeah, I could actually see Chris's ex-girlfriend. I could see her circle shrinking and my circle becoming bigger, and I got all competitive and it let out a weird laugh. So there's a lot of emotion involved in this experience. So be ready for it, people, if you're going to try it.
Oh
That's
my gosh, hysterical. I'm looking at January 2005 through February 2011. Which is 6.1 years, but you can change stuff to just in the past week or the past month or you know from all of time. Mom, you're still the biggest even in the past week, so there you go. There you go. Oh, I see. Well, she's on the outside though, so I actually haven't emailed with her that much in the past week. This is great, Amber. I love this stuff.
Yay!
Yay!
What is there?
We got a solid rad. So immersion.media.mit.edu. Don't worry about it. We'll put that link in our show notes along with the other links that we talked about in the show. But this is awesome. This is a good one.
Yeah, you got to try it because it does create a story without you having to do anything, right? It's the story of your life, which in many ways is connected to the people you talk to the most. So it's fun, happy and sad at times, but fun overall.
Indeed. It's kind of neat, too, how they've got people that you talk to and then other people that are connected to those people.
Yeah.
So you sort of go like, oh, yeah, all those people are in a little family. Mm-hmm. And one of them was, you know, my best friend before our terrible fight. No, I'm just kidding.
And then they drop off.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, and then what happened in 2000? Oh, yeah, that's right. We don't email as much anymore. This is great, though. Immersion, a people-centric view of your email life, which probably says more about you than some social networks ever could.
Couldn't agree more. So it's very rad.
Very rad. We got two rads here. Hopefully you guys think it's rad as well. Well, speaking of rad, this has been a rad hour, a rad social hour. We are at the end. That is it for this episode. Remember that Amber and I are live on Fridays, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you happen to be free, you can watch us, record the show in its entirety right here on the Twit stream at live.twit.tv, or of course you can catch up with us at your leisure on demand, which is actually how most of you watch and listen to us. We love you guys as well. twit.tv/TSH is where you can keep up with us. Subscribe to the show so that you can have it downloaded automatically once a week without even thinking about it. You can find Amber and I all over the web in a variety of places. And we'll be back here next week with another great fun-filled show. Until next week, I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Amber McCarthy, and we'll see you soon.
Goodbye.